Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Corner Office here from the home setups. We got Jack back, at the crib, and me obviously back in the dorm room today. It's been 8 days since the new year, and Jack texted me earlier on today, and he had a genius idea. He was like, we didn't talk about our ins and outs that happened in 2024 and what we're bringing from sports into 2025. So we wanted to make sure that you guys knew what was on our minds going forward. So we're going to start this episode off today just by talking about some of the ins and outs of sports that we've, things that I think we're going to be taking into 2025 and things that we're going to be leaving behind in 2024 before we get into our regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, let's get right into it. I think this is going to be a great idea. Also, this might be the first episode I've ever recorded in my bedroom on video.
I know.
So
Seriously.
take a good look at that new backdrop.
Hey.
But I think we're going to kick it off with things that we're leaving in 2024. So why don't you start us off, Alex?
All right. For outs, the first one that just jumps to my mind is Ben Simmons. He sucks. I've been a Ben Simmons defender for a while now, but I think it's time that I move off the train. I don't think he'll ever be a competitive basketball player again. What a waste of potential. I'm leaving Ben Simmons in 2024.
I know that Fox Sports is under some heat right now, but the one clip of I'm not putting this one out. I'm not leaving this one. This one's right on the border where I can't leave it or bring it with me. So, but the clip of Colin Cowherd being like, one day he's going to be bigger. Or no, it might be Skip. I think it is Colin Cowherd though. He's like, one day he's going to be bigger than LeBron James or something like that.
Oh,
Step aside, LeBron James. Here comes Ben Simmons. I think he said
that one too. But that was Colin.
Yeah, that was Colin, right? Yeah.
The Skip Bayless one is
Johnny Manziel is going to be bigger.
Johnny Manziel will be bigger in the city of Cleveland than LeBron James.
All right, well, that's a good pick. My first pick is things we're leaving in 2024. Travis Hunter's girlfriend.
Yeah,
especially if he's going to be a Patriot. We don't want her there.
Good pick. I don't know if he's going to make it to the 4th overall pick.
Me neither.
But I guess we'll find out. My number 2 here, I have David Goggins' involvement in anything sports related. There's no reason that he should be like in your corner in MMA or like around. You know what I mean? He's obviously he does some really crazy stuff, and like I get that, but like, what is he doing?
Imagine you're in the ring, right, and you're fighting like a heavyweight 6'4", 180-pound Nigerian, and David Goggins is screaming, "Who's going to carry the boats at you?"
I don't really think that's helping.
No. My second pick, this is more so for Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp, leave going on Instagram Live in 2024.
Yeah, he's yeah, it's a good point. I forgot that even happened. Good pull there. On the same subject, I mean, this one is borderline like a 2025 thing, but I think we can all, relatively agree to leave Skip Bayless in 2024.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yep. We should have left him in like 2013.
I know, seriously.
My third one, being shit at fantasy football. We're leaving that in 2024. We're not doing it again next year.
Yeah,
you and I both.
I was really, really bad in our family league this year. I think I came in last, even though I beat James twice and then lost in the 10th place. I don't know. It makes no sense to me how that happened.
I also did quite badly in both leagues this year.
But that being said, yes, I would like to be a better fantasy manager going forward. My next pick, I have commitment posts where the guy picks up 15 different hats before putting the one that he's actually going to. Like if you're sitting there, you're not cool for like picking up the Alabama hat and putting it on and then taking it off and then like ripping your shirt open and being like, I'm going to the University of Florida. All right, just tell me where you're going to. All right, I don't need the whole showboat thing.
You know what I saw the other day? People always put like this like big edit of them like going to a D3 school or something like that. Like they'll have someone make this edit for them and make it like a big deal, which is cool. Like you're going to play sports in college. That's your decision, right?
Careful.
Yeah, I know. My buddy's cousin the other day committed to a Division I school, and their picture that they posted for their commitment was just them at the beach. It was just a picture of them at the beach, like in their hoodie. I rock with that. I thought that was cool. Keep it low key.
Into 2025. You don't have to.
Just yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna use that as my pick, but I was just like, keep it low key, classy, and then go take care of business. I thought that was cool. Yeah. My leaving in 2024, Tony Romo and Chris Collinsworth glazing Patrick Mahomes. I think we're gonna leave. I hope we're gonna leave that.
I hope we leave that in 2024. He had a really bad year this year. That being said, we never wish ill on anybody else. But
no, I don't want him to like necessarily like be bad. I just want to stop hearing about it.
Okay, I think that's a very good pick then. I am leaving refs having Napoleonic complexes in 2024. Technical fouls are getting out of hand, and with the influx of NBA fights, which I may talk about a little bit later,
we did chat about that last week.
I need refs to stop giving away, these soft ass foul calls and figure it out.
I'm with that. Things we're leaving in 2024: Olympic breakdancing.
Yes,
leave it. Although I will say the Minnesota Vikings celebration doing that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's true. Finally, things were. Do you have another one, or
I have one more? Yeah.
Okay. Things we're leaving in 2024. I have the NBA 3-pointer. Bring back 2000s basketball. Let's get in the paint. Let's play in the mid-range. Let's take some low percentage shots every once in a while. Stop running down and chucking up threes. I get it. It's fun, but it's not making my viewing experience a lot better.
Or just like one guy, like one LaMarcus Aldridge. I want to see some big man post up in the low block and then like put one off the glass, like a fadeaway off the glass.
One Jahlil Okafor highlight clip a day would be sick.
Things we're leaving in 2024. I was at AT&T Stadium to watch the Cowboys play the Commanders last week, and I heard Big Justice's song playing on the speakers. I think we got to leave that song playing in NFL stadiums in 2024.
You're going on record getting rid of the boom right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
It doesn't have to leave. I just don't want to hear it while I'm watching a football game.
How do you do the dance? It's yeah. Boom.
All right, stop. It's 2025. We left it, dude. We left it.
We left it. Yeah. All right, and my final pick for things we're leaving in 2024, I have all of New Orleans sports in general. I think if Louisiana sunk into the Atlantic Ocean, I don't really think the sports world would really miss it that much.
Wow.
They're all pretty bad.
Isn't it just the Saints and the Pelicans?
Yeah. Talk about two awful teams.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Poor timing for you to make a New Orleans comment, but I digress.
All right. Something bad going on?
Yeah, something bad happened last week.
All right, my bad, New Orleans. Your sports teams are pretty awful.
Yeah.
Let's move on to ends for 2025, things that we are bringing to 2025. You want me to start us off here?
Yeah.
All right. I have, on the same elk as this 2010 crave, I have Lob City highlights. I need more of them. They're pretty awesome. Every single one of these edits I see about Lob City is pretty dope. And, I'm a big fan of what I've been seeing from that.
Things we're bringing into 2025, fighting kids for foul balls at baseball games. Bring it back. We need a little more of that.
A little grit.
You can give them the ball after, but I want to see you put up a fight in order to get it.
A little grit and grind. Yeah. Things we are bringing into 2025. LiAngelo Ball, his new song Tweaker. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, we are. We're bringing it. Something that I personally want to bring into 2025, yelling at referees at youth sports games. There's certainly not enough of that going on.
I think you could argue there's too much. Hey, that I get that. Things we're bringing into 2025: Gatorade showers that absolutely soak the reporters that are standing directly next to the head coach.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Electric times.
Yeah. I think you're going to find that I have a pretty sarcastic undertone here. Things that I'm bringing into 2025: wearing professional athlete jerseys to your college classes. And that can go for high school, too.
Yeah.
There's not enough of that going on. And it looks super cool. Super cool.
Everyone should start doing that.
Everyone start doing it.
All right. Things we are bringing into 2025. I have and one mixtape length shorts. I want those things below the knees. We're done with the high length short. Bring those things back below the knees. There you go.
I think that as we are dawning on the 50th anniversary of the Watergate scandal, I think it's time that we go out with wiretapping and we go in with ball tapping your boys. There's not enough of that.
Okay.
Bring back the nut tap.
All right. Yeah. I don't know if it ever really left, but definitely could be a thing going forward. Another in for 2025. I want more big man moments where a guy gets a pick and just starts rumbling and bumbling down.
Michael Pierce, dude, it was cool when you made that interception, but just giving yourself up.
How are you going to slide like that? I don't know.
You can't do that.
More big man moments.
That poor turf.
Yes, seriously.
Things we're bringing into 2025. The Patriots messing up their draft pick. It's going to happen. Bring it with us.
Yeah.
Let's take another quarterback at 4.
Let's trade Drake May for the first overall pick and draft Shedeur Sanders.
Let's do it. Let's bring it into 2025.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. Things that we're bringing into 2025. Being in the opposing team stadium and being obnoxiously loud. I want everyone to want to fight me when I am at somebody else's team.
I love that. I've got a somewhat similar one. I think that fans are just too quiet while watching the game now. Bring back screaming at the television.
You're on your couch. I want my entire house to be awake.
I want the neighborhood to know. I want the neighborhood association to be upset with how loud I am.
Yeah. All right, and finally, the last thing that I have on my bringing it into 2025 teams, or bringing it into 2025, is the post-game locker room, like the video. I'm gonna need those from every single team.
Yeah, those ones are cool. My last one's also similar to that. Choreographed touchdown celebrations. Yeah. Bring them back.
Really cool.
Bring them to 2025.
Vikings are doing a great job with that so far.
And they're setting the precedent for the league right now.
100%.
All right, so that wraps up that segment. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We thought that was fun. Let's get into the real episode now. The playoffs are set. The NFL playoffs are officially set. And I think that before we talk about that, it's getting harder by the day to be a New England Patriots fan.
It sucks.
I mean, I was in shambles at the end of that game, as was my father.
Yeah, so bad.
So bad. So, I mean, we're going to have a lot of extensive NFL draft as we go. But, I mean, what are we going to... I mean, the Patriots fired Jerod Mayo after the game. To be honest with you, I think it was the right move. As I said last week, I had no problem with what he was doing. But this week's win was, like, so egregious that it was cause for firing.
Yeah. I think that we've kind of both been Jerod Mayo defenders for a while, but this really did feel like a bit of an FU on the way out of the door here. I think he kind of knew that his back was against the wall, and despite, look, we were both defenders of Jerod Mayo, but I also see the fact from, like, the Kraft perspective that, like, once you lose the fan base, which I think Jerod Mayo did, there's nothing really else to build there. You know what I mean? Obviously, like, I think a lot of the players and myself would have liked to have seen him have another year, especially when people they weren't supposed to be a competitive team. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where people got the guys that, like, they were supposed to win, like, 6 games or something like that. Like, and even if they did, what does that get you? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, like, I don't really understand, like, maybe they were like, oh, the losses are so bad. Yeah, no shit. Like, we're playing in a really good division. You know what I mean? So, like, it made really no sense to me, like, what the argument against Jerod Mayo was, aside from the fact that everybody was like, oh, we could have had Mike Rabel, which is, another guy that we've kind of talked about being a fine head coach. We don't know anything about how he's going to handle. I think he'll probably be the hire for the New England Patriots. But that being said, like, once you lose the fan base like that, I really think it's hard to come back from it. And, in just in what seems to be a final act of defiance on his way out of the door, they win the last game and you drop yourself from the number 1 overall pick to the number 4 overall pick, which doesn't sound crazy, but, like, look, I think the Patriots probably would have traded down from the 1 anyways and got a bunch of draft capital, potentially got a top 10 offensive lineman and Travis Hunter. You know what I mean? Like,
that's kind of what we thought was the ideal situation, right?
I agree.
So now that's
100%.
Like, I think that the number 1 overall pick wasn't necessarily so much a big deal to us as it would have been another team, but it would have been something for us to be excited about.
Right.
The prospect of getting a trade, or even just the prospect of using it on someone who we know is like a number 1 option.
Right.
Now we're at the 4, which is still a great pick, not as good as it was last year, which is something you certainly weren't hoping for down the stretch of the season. Mm-hmm. And now you're at a point where you can't really trade it because it's not necessarily a quarterback
super
pick.
Valuable. Yeah, it's not
that valuable.
Not going to get you Shedeur or Cam Ward.
And you're probably not going to end up with the player that you wanted. So now it's a lose-lose situation, which is honestly upsetting. But I mean, we're going to dive into that more as we go. Some other firings that happened around the league. Antonio Pierce was fired from the Raiders, which means that now it's kind of a 3-horse race for the top 2 coaching candidates. I think across the board, it seems like Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel are the top 2.
Well, for the Patriots, they are.
I think that kind of league-wide they are.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think that now 3 teams are competing for those 2 coaches, being the Jets, the Raiders, and the Patriots. And I think the Patriots will end up with one of those 2, but I think that it'll be a serious fight between the Jets and the Raiders.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think both of the Lions assistant coaches are going to be in conversation. Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn both
And
will
Aaron Glenn
probably
did
be
did
on
play
the
for the
list.
New York Jets.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think they're going to seriously look at him. But then again, he's a defensive-minded coach, and it seems like the New York Jets really don't know what they have moving forward. So
correct.
That's a whole other conversation that we don't have to dive into.
Right, and something that we failed to mention in the script on like what we were going to talk about today is we potentially saw Aaron Rodgers last game in the NFL. We don't know yet. He's got to go do his retreat. Damn it, that should have been on the outs. He's got to go do his retreat, and figure out if he wants to keep playing football or not. But I also saw the name Pete Carroll flying around. He's interviewing with the Bears, which is an opening right now that I actually think is pretty lucrative. Like, obviously, that's a young quarterback, a young core, like a team that really looks pretty good. But I don't really know if a 71-year-old Pete Carroll is somebody 73-year-old Pete Carroll is somebody that you want to be bringing into the building right now when you have guys like Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, available who are obviously younger, obviously,
and the NFL is trending towards younger coaches.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think that's true. And I think that just like works better for the locker room at some point. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these coaches are guys who are former players, are guys who have been in buildings, and I have a feeling that like as much as the X's and O's are important, like this culture thing that I've seen over this year and the past couple of years with Detroit, with the Commanders this year, with the Vikings right now is like something that's super important. And it always kind of has been, but like I think this year more than others, you're kind of really starting to see that play out. But there are multiple good coaching candidates that are out there. I just don't think the Patriots are going to sign somebody out of house. That's why I really think that Vrabel will probably be the guy. But I think that you should have to, you have to look at candidates like Aaron Glenn, like Ben Johnson, guys who are, who obviously deserve a head coaching shot.
And I think that generally I'm pretty okay with all three of those options.
Yep.
But I think that Patriots fans will want Mike Vrabel. The truth of the matter is, Mike Vrabel's not necessarily, like, he's been a coach in the NFL, and he did a good job with the Titans in 2019, but besides that, he doesn't have, like, a super long, extensive resume. So I think that if you're, like, he's the guy that you aren't really taking a chance on, but at the end of the day, you don't really know what you're getting out of any of these guys.
Nope.
So, I mean, if you want a guy who's going to be super fun and an offensive wizard for Drake May, then I think you push pretty hard for Ben Johnson.
Right. Yeah, but I also think that, like, the idea with Vrabel is just the idea that the Patriots have a certain way of doing things, and under the Belichick era, that was, like, definitely a thing that happened. And, like, with Mike Vrabel, like, he obviously played under Belichick, so everybody's like, oh my goodness, like, he knows the Belichick way, he's going to be able to implement that. He's, he's in-house, he's this type of thing. And, like, that idea of like he's one of us is I think something that like Patriots fans grasp to, despite the fact that, like I do think that there are better candidates out there potentially just from a football lens. You know what I mean? I think that Ben Johnson is a guy who, if he can control his locker room, he can be a very good head coach because obviously you've seen what he can do on the offensive side of the ball. The issue obviously with first-year coordinators though is that some of them just aren't built to be head coaches. You know what I mean? You've seen that a lot with Patriots guys, right?
Especially with Josh McDaniels and Matt Patricia, yeah.
Like,
so, I mean, I think that's definitely a point, and you definitely want a guy to come in and control the locker room instantly from day one, because that's been a problem, an ongoing issue for the Patriots for 2 or 3 years now. So I mean, I think that that's a compelling argument.
Right. So I do understand the Vrabel, like, esque feeling of like, okay, like this guy has won in a locker room before. He has shown success, and he has shown success as a head coach, not just as a coordinator. But I do think that guys like Aaron Glenn and, defensive minded head coaches to me, obviously like are the safer choice over offensive ones. But I think that, I think that the Patriots will probably end up with Vrabel, and then Ben Johnson will end up somewhere like Chicago or New York.
Something else to keep in mind is that if the Ohio State Buckeyes decide to move away from Ryan Day, they're also going to take a pretty heavy look at Mike Vrabel as he played at Ohio State.
I agree. I don't think they will move away from Ryan Day just because they're in the college football Final Four here. You just beat Oregon in the Rose Bowl, and you're looking to, obviously win a national championship, which
it's definitely a thought.
I think it's a thought, but like I think that they have that type of ability right now. Especially like with the remaining field. So I'm interested to see what happens there. I mean, they have a tendency to lose in big games, but I don't necessarily think that's totally on Ryan Day. But yes, I think it is something to look at.
All right, so the NFL playoffs are set,
Mm-hmm.
and all eyes were on the Cincinnati Bengals, whether they were going to make it in or not. 2 out of the 3 legs that they needed in order to get in happened. They beat the Steelers in a thriller on Saturday night, and the Miami Dolphins lost to the Jets on Sunday.
Yep.
So the last leg that was needed was the Denver Broncos to lose to the Chiefs. However, in the most Kansas City Chiefs fashion, which again does make the most sense for their team, but does not help them be a liked team in the NFL, they played Carson Wentz and basically none of their starters against the Broncos and got absolutely obliterated.
Right.
So, I mean, I just hate the Chiefs, and I really wanted to see this Bengals team get in. It's a real shame, and I think that it just makes the Chiefs like that much more hated going into the playoffs, as if they needed any help.
I don't know.
But, I mean, with that being said, the playoff picture's set, so I think it's time that we just make our picks for this wild card weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how many teams are really fearing the Bengals. Like, their defense is so awful. But that being said, like, yes, you obviously wanted to see them get in because their offense is so dynamic. And I think they're a better team than the Broncos are, just flat out, plain and simple. But, like, I don't think that you can blame the Chiefs for benching their starters in a meaningless game. You know?
No, and that's not what I'm saying. It's just like the entire NFL wanted for the Bengals to get in, and since the Chiefs like made it impossible for that to happen, and knowing that the Bengals were probably one of the few teams that can beat them in the AFC,
right?
It just kind of sucks as a fan. We all want to see Burrowhead, so
yeah, it's true.
It is what it is. But let's move into the playoff picture. Let's start with games on Saturday.
Okay.
The first one at 4:30. This is the Texans' like 8th straight playoff appearance that is at 4:30 on Saturday. I think they've been to the wild card round. I think they've been to the wild card round 8 times, and all 8 were at 4:30 on Saturday. The first game being Chargers versus Texans. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think the Chargers win this game. I have not been impressed by the Texans, and I have been impressed by the Chargers. And I think that they go into Houston, which is not a horribly difficult place to go into, and beat them on Saturday.
I agree with that. I think that everyone's counting out the Texans right now for good reason. They've looked really out of sorts. And obviously C.J. Stroud not having the same season as he had his rookie year, a lot of the mistakes that he was making as a rookie being punished as a sophomore, and the injuries that they've had to their receiving core are going to be too much for this team, and I am going to take the Chargers to win here as well.
All right, next game at 8 o'clock. Really, really good game here.
Yeah.
We got Steelers versus Ravens in Baltimore. These two teams were just competing last week for that final spot for that clinching spot in the AFC North, and I think that this is going to be a very angry game. These two teams hate each other.
Yep.
And it's the first time we've seen them in the playoffs in a while.
Sometime. Yeah.
So it's a very, very meaningful game here. With that being said, I have not been impressed by the Steelers at all. I think we finally are starting to see their true colors, just as they do every season where they lose like their last 4 out of their last 5 or something like that. So I think that the Ravens decimate the Steelers. I think they beat them by two scores.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are having a lot of problems with their quarterback room right now. I don't know when they go to Justin Fields instead of Russell Wilson, who clearly hasn't, had the same pop since week 13 against the Bengals. That being said, I think that this Ravens team having home field advantage is probably really important in this game, and I think that the Ravens will win this game outright. They just have too much of a dynamic offense.
All right, so moving to Sunday, there's 3 games, the first of which are the Broncos, who, again, I have been dying on the hill of being a Bo Nix hater. I don't think that I can run from the truth that much longer anymore. He's been very good with this team. And
I don't know why you're a hater.
Well,
he doesn't do anything that's unlikable.
I think that I was just a hater going into the season because I didn't like his style of play.
Yeah.
But I think he's kind of doing a really good job.
He threw a 65-yard touchdown to Marvin Mims 2 weeks ago.
I mean, that was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. And I just think that it's time to admit that he's a good quarterback. And it's not necessarily like he didn't walk into a good situation. He walked into a bunch of mediocre second option guys and he led them to the playoffs. So I think that if you're a Broncos fan, you're excited. And if you're not, he's still fun to watch. And I think that it's time for me to accept that. And I'm going to go ahead and on the show, put my hand up and say, I was wrong about Bo Nix. He had a great rookie season.
I like it.
So, I just want to get that precedent out of the way. With that being said, I think the Bills kill them. I think the Bills win. I don't know if it's necessarily by killing, but I think that they beat the Broncos at home.
I think the Bills win this game as well. I think that you also have to give some credit to Sean Payton for having a fantastic season, something that I don't think people were expecting from him. I think a lot of people like myself were like, oh, from his Saints days, like he's a little bit washed, especially from last season where they just completely fell apart with Broncos country. Let's ride. You know what I mean? So like that was definitely, a dark era for the Denver Broncos, but I'm really happy for the season that Bo Nix has had. That being said, they haven't shown nowhere near the firepower that they need to win this game. And for that, I think that the Bills will win at home. And the Bills playing in Buffalo, which I can assure you will be snowing and cold. Not saying that Colorado is warm.
Fun to watch.
Yeah.
Good football.
I just think that the Bills will probably get this one done.
The 4:30 slot on Sunday, to me, kind of jumps off the page. This is a game that I'm very excited to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably the best game in the wild card round.
Okay.
The Packers going into Lincoln Financial to play the Philadelphia Eagles. I think this is going to be a very good game. I think that because the Eagles are playing at home and they kind of thrive off of their fan energy, that they are going to win this game. But I could see this one genuinely going either way. As we saw last year, Jordan Love played great against the Cowboys in the wild card round last year.
Yep.
And I think that there's potential for that to happen again. But I am going to say that I think the Eagles will win this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a battle between two of the best running backs in the NFL. You have Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs. And it's really going to come down to how either of these teams stop the run, I think. Although I think that Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts are both capable quarterbacks, I think Philadelphia has too much firepower. And for that reason, I'm also going to stay with the Eagles.
I mean, Jalen Hurts hasn't played with this team in 2 weeks now.
Correct.
So, I mean, not that I think that'll be a huge issue, but we'll see, right? And the last game is Commanders at Buccaneers. This is, again, a very good game. They met in week 1 this year, and it was a very good football game. And as much as I'd like to say I like the Bucs because I do like their team, I do go to school in Washington, and I did watch them win last week without their starting quarterback in the second half. I have a lot of confidence in this Commanders team. And I think that they have the chance to go into Raymond James and make a serious statement with this win. So I am going to take the Commanders.
Alrighty. I like that pick. This is the first time that I'm going to go against you here. I think home field advantage is going to play a big role here. Obviously, being a rookie quarterback in the wild card round is something that you have to look at, and I think that Jaden Daniels is up for the challenge here. But I've just been such a big fan of Baker Mayfield this year that it feels wrong to go against him at this point in the season. And for that reason, I am going to take the Buccaneers to win this game.
Regardless, this is going to be a fun football game. Jaden Daniels versus Baker Mayfield, two guys who don't have a lot of playoff experience, but I mean, Baker has not ever played bad in the playoffs.
Yeah,
he beat the Eagles last year. He beat the 11 or 16-1 Steelers in 2020. So I mean, It's definitely going to be a good football game.
Yeah.
Moving into Monday, this one's kind of a snoozer for me, but I'm sure that it'll be exciting to some extent. The Vikings are playing the Rams in LA, which is not a hard place to go play.
No.
But I think this one has the potential to be a shootout, as we thought the game was going to be last week between the Vikings and Lions, which was kind of a disappointment.
Yep.
I think that the Vikings could kind of get themselves on track by having an absolute shootout. I'm going to take them against the Rams, but I would also take the over in this game.
I think this has no potential to be a shootout. I think the Rams offense has looked way out of sorts, especially when it comes to Kyron Williams not playing well. I think the Vikings get it done. I think that they steamroll through the Rams here, and then they meet up with the Detroit Lions for another rematch of that NFC North picture.
And we all want to see that.
We all want to see that. All right, so
let's close out this episode with a little bit of NBA. There's not a whole lot going on that we have to cover since last week, but I think the main thing is the Jimmy Butler situation in Miami. And since we recorded last, he basically demanded a trade, and then the Heat and Pat Riley told him that he wasn't going to be playing for them for a little bit.
And they suspended him for 7 games.
He's currently sitting out a 7-game in-team suspension, not mandated by the league. And I think that it's kind of an ego battle between him and Pat Riley and who's going to cave first. But if you look at Jimmy Butler, as badly as he may want to leave, where can he go?
Yep.
There's only one team in the NBA that can afford his contract without making it a 3-team deal, and that would be the Phoenix Suns. And they have no purpose in trading him Because their guy who wants to leave, Bradley Beal, has no use on the Heat.
Well, no, that's not the issue. It's not the issue. The issue is that Bradley Beal has a no trade clause, and until
that's a bigger issue.
Until
he can waive his no trade clause.
Yeah, but he holds all the power.
Right, but if you're Miami, right? Why would you give away Jimmy Butler to get a guy that you don't need just to make him happy? It makes no sense.
I'll tell you two things. The first thing is the reason that Jimmy Butler's trade picture has been so bad is because nobody wants to trade for him. The reason for that is because his extension is $50 million.
55.
He is not going to sign with whoever he's traded to, unless it's to a specific destination that he wants to go to. The Miami Heat have already said, we are not extending you, which I think is fair from a business perspective. It's kind of unfair from the fact that this is a guy who has breathed life into your organization for 4 years. You know what I mean? And you've done nothing to get him the help that he needs. That being said, the Heat now know that they have to get rid of him, but anywhere that Jimmy Butler is going to go, it's a half-season rental. So he has to get you to a championship for the amount of money that he is being paid, or it's like wasted potential to get that guy on the team. You know what I mean? So like the return package for a guy of Jimmy Butler's value is super low right now. And the only one team that is interested in him and Jimmy Butler is interested in going to is Phoenix. So Brad Beal would have to waive his no trade clause in order to go to the Miami Heat.
Which again, from Bradley Beal's perspective, why would you do that? The Miami Heat have two guys who play his exact role and position, in Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero.
Right.
So, I mean, you're legitimately competing for minutes on that Miami Heat team, who are struggling and will get worse if they don't have their star player. Yep. Which, I mean, leads me to see, I don't think it'll happen. And I don't know why it would. And I think it's kind of unfair for Jimmy Butler to not be understanding about that. I think he's gone about it wrong, to be honest with you. Involving the media and making it a big deal, which obviously I guess you kind of have to if you're not getting your way. But at the same time, $50 million is not a small amount of money. So if it's about the money, just wait a year and then someone will offer you something in free agency. I don't understand why it has to be right now. And that's the part that's a little frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know what the situation is going to hold. I think that there could be a realistic possibility that Jimmy Butler isn't traded and continues to be a nuisance and then just signs someplace else in the offseason. Because I don't think that there's anything of value on the market for him right now.
Yeah. The last point that we have marked down here is the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder play tonight. In my opinion, this is a game that could possibly decide who the best team in the NBA is right now. Yep. Not necessarily who the best team in a 7-game series is, but right now, I think that this decides who the best team is. Both these teams are on big win streaks. I think the Thunder are up to
15 or 16.
15 in a row or something like that. Yeah, 15 straight they've won, and the Cavaliers have won 10 in a row. So I think that this kind of decides who's the best team.
I think that's the obvious statement that you would have to make. Look, I think that the win over the Celtics the other day from the Thunder was a really eye-opener one for me. They've looked like a really good team, and while I wouldn't take them in a 7-game series, I still don't think I'll take a team over the Celtics in a 7-game series yet. These two teams have looked the best in the regular season all year long, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game is for the number 1 seed in the NBA, period. But this could potentially be a finals matchup.
Yeah. So all eyes are on them tonight, and that is on ESPN, I believe. So I believe that wraps up all we have right now. We'll be back to kind of discuss the NFL playoffs and kind of what unfolds from this game early next week. But until then, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for listening. As always, this has been the Corner Office, and I'm Jack Byrne.
And I'm Alex Penders.
Corner 3.